But what's my motivation? I feel like a struggling actor. I don't know what the hell the point is anymore. I got to start recording this on Saturdays. What's up, everybody? Adam Pecora here. And this is Requiem for a Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in. Listen, I got to admit, took a lot of, had to muster up a lot of energy for this one. The Chicago Bears just break my heart over and over and over again, and it's like, I'm just in no mood for this. So enjoy the rest of the episode. But yeah, just a real sad day. Nothing ever changes. I'm not going to do the whole thing. It's just bad. It's just so bad. And none of us wanted him to stay, but they kept him, and we just had to buy in, and it's just brutal. There was no reason for this. There was no reason for this. All right. Rate, review, subscribe to Requiem for a Tuesday wherever you listen. We're probably there. YouTube, a couple video things on there. Not too much, but hey, get those numbers up and we can start doing all of that. But not quite at this juncture is it worth the time, frankly. Anyway, merch at rfat.bigcartel.com. Yeah, rate, review, and subscribe. We got music. We got other stuff. Check out all the links below. You know what we're here for. What is being labeled so far as the movie of the year? Cannes Film Festival Palme d'Or winner. I still don't know if I'm not pronouncing any of it right, and I don't care because it's French, and I respect the prestigiousness of the film festival, but not the country it's in, or the people, or the language. So, anyway, Anora. This movie was not at all what I expected. Now, I don't really know what I expected, I guess. I think just naturally right off the bat, more of a drama. Whereas while there is plenty of drama, I would consider this movie a comedy overall. It's funny as shit, which I did not expect. Just honestly, even as you're watching it, whatever you're expecting isn't going to happen. Always appreciate that. I guess I'm a little surprised that this won the Palme d'Or, only because, I mean, I'm no historian of the festival. I just feel like, especially in the recent years, there's usually something more experimental in quality about the winning movie. Triangle of Sadness had like a weird structure thing, or was that an anthology even almost? I don't even remember. Were all of those stories related? Whatever, not the point. That movie, The Square, was weird as hell. I couldn't even get through it. I didn't watch Titan. I don't know what else is on the list, but no, I'm going to look at the list, actually. Let's go through the Palme d'Or winners, shall we? Because what has been going on over there in Le Français, Le Festival de Cannes. What do we got here? You see, this, I mean, this is why other shows have producers, like shows with money, but from people that you are actually aware of that you would listen to. It is not easy, really, to like be the Google guy without stopping recording entirely. What do we got? The Palme d'Or. The winners in recent years are... I'm getting there, I promise. Oh, Anatomy of a Fall last year, right. Did not like that. Triangle of Sadness was good. I liked it anyway, but And no, there was one story. I thought so. I don't know why I thought maybe it was something else. Yeah, Titan didn't see, no English, Parasite, I guess that wasn't really that, but it was just so universally praised. I would say that's a different story. But no, that wasn't really like an obscure or artsy movie, really. Shoplifters. Didn't see that one. I don't know anything about. I've never heard of that, so that can't be that great. The Square I mentioned earlier. And yeah, by 2016 and before, I'm not really. I mean, I've heard of Blue is the Warmest Color, but anyway, I was not paying attention to any of these. Tree of Life, another example, is a weird one, which I believe was the last U.S. film to win. Anyway. First film that I have seen of Sean Baker's, I think I tried to watch Red Rocket once or twice. I got a bad habit, ladies and gentlemen. If I start a movie after 9:30 p.m., I will not be getting through it. That's just unfortunate, and it's the truth. But Red Rocket, kind of truly a comedy. Then there's The Florida Project, which I believe is like a straight drama that got the Oscar buzz, but never saw it. Tangerine, I think, is also, pretty well regarded. Just seems like the guy kind of nails it. At least with the critics. All of his movies are in the sex worker realm, is what everybody says over and over again. And, let's just get into it, I guess. This movie was great. Now, is this the best movie I've seen this year? I don't even know if that's true. It was great. I will say it has a lingering quality where it stayed on my mind after, which is, usually a great sign. But again, it's just not, it's not what I saw coming. I would definitely watch it again. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe it was just like, because it's not what I expected. Like, that's why I feel slightly underwhelmed, maybe. But again, having said that, there's like a relentlessly high quality to this movie. And, we're just going to get into it as per usual for the new movies. They're full spoilers, ladies and germs. So pause this one and come back if that is a concern for you. Now, I didn't know that this movie was set in New York, first of all. I tried to not look into it because it was just so highly received. And all the hype and all this. And Mikey Madison. And she's great. She was great in Scream. She was great in especially Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And has got it. I mean, there's not like a second where it's like, she wasn't right for this or wasn't ready for this. Like, she is 100% the star of this movie. And from what I gather, put a lot of the fucking work in. This movie is being described by many as Uncut Gems meets Pretty Woman. And the second I heard that after seeing this movie, that just kind of nailed it right on the head. I have no notes on that comparison. I was thinking of Uncut Gems during the movie. It's like a less competent Uncut, more funny Uncut Gems at a certain spot. So essentially this just starts, this is what being a stripper is like. And she's stripping a lot. And circulate the room, meet the daddies, get the money, milk them, talk to them, get them to get the room, more money, whatever. And, she seems very skilled and good at it, but is not happy. And is like, wanting to not be a stripper, as I assume many of them are. So there's just kind of like a montage of her just like doing work. And then all of a sudden her boss is just like, yo, we know you fucking speak Russian. And she's like, I'm on my fucking lunch break. And he's like, I don't give a fuck. Make some fucking money, bitch. And she's like, all right. And she goes and meets this guy, and he's speaking Russian and whatever. And I'm like, fuck, how much subtitles am I going to have to read in this? And it's a reasonable amount. It's a bit heavy up front, and then it's much less throughout, and that's great. He is like a child. He's basically like 15 years old, like in maturity. And basically he's rich as fuck because his dad is like an oligarch, which it's still not incredibly clear what that is. I was like, oh, the oligarchs. It's like, what? Okay. So it's a rich Russian. That's all you're saying. They're rich. So whatever, they're rich. So he has a mansion, and well, basically they do the regular thing. She chats with them in Russian. He takes her to the room, and then he's like, do you work outside of the club? And she's like, yeah, no shit. Like, clearly this guy's got some coin. I don't know if she could tell that right away. No, she couldn't, because then she goes to his mansion, and she's like, what the fuck is all this? That's when he finally is like, yeah, my dad's like this Russian guy. And they just like fuck like crazy for like a week, is pretty much the whole thing. And basically, it just keeps escalating. So he invites her over again and again and again. And she's very clearly like apprehensive, reserved in that thing, like trying to make it clear, like, you're going to have to keep paying me. Like, this is transactional, like, whatever. I'm not really like a hooker, but like, I'll fuck a Russian kid for a bunch of money. And let me tell you, she's very believable, let's just say, as this stripper escort type. Seems like she knows what she's doing all the time. Pretty cool movie. And then eventually, it seems like you can't really tell if anyone's like falling for anyone or, they're just like living it up. Clearly, but it kind of seems like they at least like vibe, even though he's like a kid and just like plays Xbox all day. Whatever. And then this movie's in like 3 parts. So it's like the intro's pretty quick, and then they're just kind of at this mansion. And then while they're at the mansion, it turns into like the party montage, because he's like, I'll give you fucking like 10 grand to stay for the week. And she's like 15. And he's like, I would have given you 30. And then she takes a week off of work, whatever. And they just party nonstop. And this is like the main part of what I would refer to as like section 1 of the movie. And they go out there and they live it up, and it's very cinematic, just using different spots in Vegas that like they wouldn't even be at. The fact that like they go to downtown, it's rich people I don't imagine are ever in downtown, but they're like right outside the Golden Nugget, but it looks great. 2 people like happy dancing to music with like fucking, this had to be shot on film, by the way. I don't know if that's 100% the case or not, but this movie looks like it was shot on film. And especially for those moments, just like Vegas looks great in a movie, but they do a great job. And I will say, just like overall, this movie feels like real as hell. There's no point in this at which it doesn't seem like I don't know how to explain it, but it doesn't look like a movie in the sense that it seems like all of the lighting is completely natural at all times. Like there's just no artificial feeling moments of it. They go to Coney Island a few times in this, and I don't know. I can't cite a ton of movies that are, directly filmed at Coney Island. Annie Hall comes to mind. But it seems like, it's always like this zoo of people or like this magical happy place or this like really dark, seedy place or, it's always just this like extreme of some kind. And I don't know, the one time I went there, when they go there in the movie, it's like cold out. I couldn't tell you what month it's supposed to be. But I went there like in early April the one time I was there. And it was cold out and there was nobody around. And it felt just like it did in the movie. It's like, wait, there's just like nobody here. And it's just all these like weird, dumb little shops. And these rides are kind of hokey. Like this is basically just like the traveling town carnival, just like permanently on the boardwalk in Brooklyn, which like, hey, it's cool that there's something to do. I'm not saying like fucking tear the whole thing down. But, there's nobody around and it's empty and it looks exactly how I remember it. And like weirdly, like the part in Vegas is filmed like a happy memory, which I'm kind of talking myself into loving this movie a lot, I think right now, but there's just a quality to it that I can't really put my finger on other than saying that like it is just super natural and there's no part of this that seems like crazy far-fetched. Like I guess it's not really that similar to Uncut Gems. I know I'm going to get there, don't worry. But in the sense of just like how heightened Uncut Gems would get at moments where like really if you like it's incredibly engaging and it's an excellent movie, but like if you really took a step back, it's like they're gonna be fucking breaking this dude's legs and throwing him in a trunk at like a high school parking lot and all this type of shit. Like I don't know, nothing that out of line really goes on here, which I will explain next. So it's basically implied that they're like falling in love in Vegas, but like, they're just on drugs and he has millions and millions of dollars at his disposal. So it's like, that would be a fucking awesome time. And he's basically like, fucking marry me. And then I can stay in this country, which never made any sense. Like he's a rich guy. And he's always throughout the movie, he's like dodging anything about his parents. Basically because it's clear that he has no control over his life. And he's just like, if I get married, I can stay in the country. And it's like, well, that's not real. Because like clearly you can stay here anyway. You have all this money at your disposal. Like, what are you about to be deported? Like it just didn't. It was just like kind of clearly a lie. And then I don't know. He kind of convinces her, whatever. They go get married in Vegas. And then he basically is like, if I get a green card with you, I won't have to go back to Russia and work for my dad. So that's basically the thing. His dad's just going to make him like be an adult and work a job. So then, and like she definitely like contemplates it very seriously and is like you can see the wheels spinning in her head and she's just like, well, I might as well just fucking go for this. Basically, like I know that this is like against the rules of how this is supposed to go. Like, you got to stay like customer based here. But that doesn't really happen. And so, she thinks it through, but I mean, honestly, the pros totally outweigh all the cons here. This can't really end that poorly for her other than just like, disappointment, which is what happens. Spoiler amongst the spoilers. And so from there, after they get married, this is when the movie changes pretty quickly. So they go back home. She quits her job and it's just like, I'm just going to be this dude's wife. Whatever. I'm fucking rich now. This is cool. And then pretty much immediately, these like henchmen type guys. So you don't know anything about them. They just pop up in the movie and they're henchmen effectively. And they're like, yo, dude, where are you? We got to talk to you, blah, 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 whatever. And the dude just kind of runs away from them because they're like, your dad's like, we're taking you back to your dad, blah, blah, blah. It reveals itself very slowly, but essentially these are like the guys that were hired by his dad to look over him, and they're just like fucking Armenian guys that live in Brooklyn, and they're not good at it, and they're not doing a good job, and he has obviously been going to Vegas and spending fuck tons of money and is now married, so they just have not done anything right. And so now they're coming after him, trying to figure out what's going on and all this stuff. And the kid just straight up flees. And she's basically like, what the fuck? And I guess the biggest flaw of this movie is that it takes her way too long to realize that he's just like a really dumb, immature kid when it's just like pretty clear the whole time. So I would say that's probably the movie's biggest flaw, really. Because the kid kind of sucks and he's just like a child. And then the kid is gone from the movie all of a sudden. And this is when we officially enter part 2 of the movie. No, yes, right. This is when we enter part 2 of the movie. And now this is essentially like 25 to 30 minutes of them trying to like wrangle her and just like figure out some very basic information. And this is when the movie like slowly transforms from just being... I mean, it wasn't a drama or it was comedic before, but this is when it transforms and has like intense and dramatic moments, and then completely flips into like a comedy before like settling into being a drama at the end. So what happens here is like they're like tying her up. She's trying to fight them off, but they're not really like fighting her back that hard, because you think like, oh, these are like the Russian oligarch gangsters. But it's just like, well, they're not like literally just like fucking killing people left and right. You know, like she's got family and friends, and like this will definitely come back to them and all this type of shit. So I would say it's like pretty grounded in reality and how I would imagine, like, just like realistically, could somebody just like show up to your house and just like punch you in the face and just like, no matter what, there'd be some kind of struggle, right? And so this is like it's like a slapsticky but also kind of terrifying thing, because you never really know how far they're going to take it. And then like she'll take it a little bit further and then they'll kind of like regress. But basically they're just like, dude, like we're not trying to like hurt you at all. Like this has like nothing to do with you. So anyway, a fun back and forth that is nerve-wracking at the same time, and then just kind of settles on being funny. And one of the henchmen is just like a total idiot, and then the other guy is this Russian guy who's kind of like got the hots for her, you can tell right away, but is also just super nice. Like he's not nice. You know what I mean? Like he's still doing his job, but is like trying to be nice to her at the same time. It's a fun dynamic. A lot of screaming for this part, and this just goes on back and forth for a while. There's phone calls, whatever. And essentially the plan is they have to get the kid, and then they're going to make her go with and get an annulment. And she's resisting, and then, you know, back and forth forever. Then she just kind of realizes she doesn't really have a choice, and she's kind of stuck to having to do all this shit. And he won't answer the phone for anybody, even her. And she's kind of like, what the fuck? We're supposed to be married. And she kind of seems to take the marriage very seriously for some reason, even though this happens right away. And then is constantly just like, why would you not call me back? I'm supposed to be your wife. Like she just thinks that she's like Cinderella. I think that's really what it is. She just doesn't want to see the reality of this whole thing. And then it becomes... That's when it goes to like part 3 of the movie. It just becomes a like odd gang of searching people, and it's his caretakers and Anora driving around Brooklyn trying to find her husband. And the Russian people are pissed. Like, word got out that he married a hooker, basically, and they're like nationally embarrassed in Russia. And so, yeah, they just kind of drive around Coney Island, going place to place looking for him, and a bunch of funny things happen. And the Russian dude just keeps falling in love with Anora, and that's basically how that goes, back and forth. Then eventually they catch up with him at the strip club where he met Anora, and she's basically like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what is going on here? And he's just like too fucked up to talk. They go to the courthouse in New York, and it's chaos, and it's a great scene. And they are like, you got married in fucking Vegas? What the fuck? When did you go to Vegas? So then they force them on a plane to Vegas, and the mom and dad from Russia come, and the mom is cold and mean, and Anora tries to like do the thing, and she's like, no, we can make it work. Like, we can talk to your parent, blah, blah, blah. And the whole time he's just a dickhead to her, and then the mom shows like what type of person she is. She's the only one who's like playing like a movie villain in this, like straight up. She's like a fucking super villain in this movie. They got like all Russian actors, I believe, to play all the Russian people. And she's basically like, fuck you. Like, we're getting it annulled. Like, there's no chance in which you stay married to this guy. So like, it's just not going to work. And then she tries to like, no, we'll not get it annulled. I will get a divorce and I'll sue for half. And then she's just like, we have endless resources. Like, you don't stand a chance. And she just kind of realizes like, oh, I'm fucked. I'm going to have to go back to the strip club. This is embarrassing. And then she gets the annulment. You know, she gets some good lines in. Finally, like the whole movie, you're hoping she can come up with some scheme to which she can get her bag out of this. But ultimately, you know, that's the thing. Like, this movie just keeps like pounding reality in your face, and she's just fucked. At least it is an annulment, and she doesn't have to like tell people about this. Really, I mean, it does suck if if she's trying to go work at the same strip club. That's going to be a tough break. Although they did break into a fight there, so I doubt you'd be able to get back in there. So that's tough. You got to get a new job and shit, probably. Although drama at a strip club, they'll probably take you back if you make enough money. Anyway, then the henchmen, Igor and Anora, have like a last night together and whatever, and they still have like a weird back and forth thing, but he's clearly super into her. Then he finally drives her back home and drops off her stuff, and then he realizes that, or not realizes, he reveals that he got her engagement ring back that was obviously worth a lot of money because it was bought by the rich Russians. And that's like a super nice gesture, and it's just clear that he likes her and all that stuff. And then they have sex, and it's like kind of transactional the way that she does it, but he's like into her. So he tries to kiss her face, or her, you know, he tries to kiss her. And, you know, that's like, I think the idea is that like as like a sex worker, she's like, I don't kiss, right? Because that's like the pretty woman thing. That's what I was picking up there. And then he's like trying to do it, and she like screams and like resists, and then she like breaks down crying, and then the movie ends. And it's like, wow, she really is like, she had this weird like identity crisis thing or whatever happened there, but that was just like a very loaded moment. You know, or, you know, the simple way is maybe it's just like, whoa, that was a fucking crazy week, huh? I'm a loser. I'm fucking Igor in the car. This is sad. You know, maybe it was that. But I feel like it was like the kiss thing is what did the trigger, where she's like, you know, like, you're going to love me for real? Like, that's not right. Like, there has to be some type of thing between this. And that's also the thing that like the Russian kid said too before. He's like, what? We had a fun week. Like, thanks. And she's like, yeah, you had a good fucking week. Like, this is my life. Like, just because you're like a fucking lunatic Russian who can get away with anything because you have millions. Like, this fucks my shit up, dude. You know, like, I bought into this because you told me it was legit. And, you know, but it's weird that in this case, the sex worker would be the one who falls for it. But again, you know, the richness thing is a big factor. But look, it was great. It was great. I think if I see it again, I'll like it more. Good for everyone involved. That's all I can really say. What else do we have here? Honestly, because I'm so exhausted from the Bears, I think we're just going to do the Week 9 recap and get out of here. Because I got into that because that movie was good. A lot of energy. Took a lot of energy to pull that one out. The Bears. I'll start with them. To be fair, I am 1-0, though. I picked the Cardinals to win this game. Just listen to everything any Chicago thing says about this, and I agree. But the Barstool Chicago guys nailed it all on the head today. Big Cat continues to be, we just share exact thoughts. So listen to Big Cat. He's much better than me. And that's how I feel. It's terrible. But 1-0. 2-0, I picked the Rams over the Seahawks. Rams are looking good. Good for them. 2-1, picked the Packers over the Lions. Big mistake. I guess I just thought the home field would work. Jordan Love, why are you playing hurt? I mean, I get it if you're a competitor, you want to play, but, the Packers should just do what's right for the team. But I think they're kind of worried that Malik Willis is going to cause a rift because he's just winning every time he plays. 2-2, picked the Saints over the Panthers. They fired their coach. Wish we would do the same, but we won't, and that's sad. I'm sorry, Caleb, that we did this to you. We could have just hired somebody else. 2-3, picked the Cowboys over the Falcons. Cowboys, tough spot. Would not want to be them either, but the Bears, just so sad. It's just so sad that I can't even. 3-3, Commanders over the Giants. Painful. Cliff Kingsbury. Really should have hired him. 4-3, Eagles over the Jags. The Jags are terrible. I say it every week. There's nothing to say there. 5-3, the Vikings over the Colts. Still don't believe in them. The Colts, it's weird because I understood wanting to try to win, but ultimately, what's your plan for next year? Joe Flacco's going to start till he's 45 like Tom Brady? I don't think so. Hindsight a little bit 2020 there, but yikes. Chargers over Browns, easiest pick in the world. What's that, 6-3, 7-3. Ravens over the Broncos. I mean, come on. That offense is just insane. Derrick Henry might run for 2,000 yards, and Lamar Jackson might get 1,000 yards again. I looked. They're each halfway there with 8 games to go. Pretty nuts. 7-3, Bengals, Raiders. Again, couldn't be easier. 8-3, Bills, Dolphins. They sweated out. Man, Josh Allen looking great. 7-4. Took the Patriots over the Titans. They should have just went for 2. What's the difference, though? Both of those teams are bad. And 7-5. Picked the Texans over the Jets. Their offense not looking great. I don't know what's going on there, but I would not be happy. Or 9-5, whatever. 9-5, good week. I'll take it. Had the Chiefs over the Bucks. Outside of last week, been over 500 every time. Love to see it. I think that's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Look, sorry I had to breeze through that like that. But, I guess I can just do Saturday night really quick because it's just not that eventful of a topic, and the movie just kind of fell flat and nobody's seeing it. So this movie is about the first episode of Saturday Night Live, the hour before it goes on. Who knows how much of this is real and what isn't, and really just if you think about it for 1 second, the movie makes no sense. But it's an entertaining watch, and I was concerned that it would be people doing caricatures, and weirdly the guy doing Belushi was like the best guy in the movie for me. The Chevy Chase guy did not work for the reason I just said. Everybody else was kind of whatever for me. I mean, nobody too great or too not, or I didn't know the character they're playing well enough. But the Belushi guy was great, and he was like almost intentionally not in the movie a lot, so they wouldn't ruin it. It was too jarring that Nicholas Braun played Andy Kaufman and Jim Henson. I'm too big of a fan after Succession, so maybe that was just me. What else happened in there? Gabriel Abel, obviously, my guy. He was great. And what was the other big thing? Oh, Cooper Hoffman also was excellent in the movie. He's genuinely going to be a very good actor. So impressed by the young actors in this movie. Oh, you know what? That's what it was. Benny Safdie was originally going to play Andy Kaufman, and that would have been great. I could totally picture that. So I wonder if that was just like an out of necessity thing that they switched it to the dual role. I don't know. But yeah, it's just odd that they're like, they don't want this show to air, and they might run a rerun because this is a complete failure. I don't know if any of that happened. I assume not. Like this show, we want to not succeed because it's just greenlit to piss off Johnny Carson, which even if there is a little bit of truth to that, it's like, well, if the show's a hit, though, that's still way better for the network, to have like a successful show on. So I don't know. It's just very flimsy because it's like, well, number one, we know the show made it and we know what the first episode is. And, I don't know. Yeah, it's just like, what is the point of this? To entertain, yes. But you know what I mean? Like, what is this showing anyone? Or I don't know. Like, I guess it would have made sense had it just been over a longer period of time, just trying to show the dynamic of the cast, maybe leading up to the first episode, like the 6 weeks before. I don't know. I don't know what makes this better or worse, but it was entertaining and I enjoyed it. But yeah, it's just kind of like oddly irrelevant. But it was very good, and I wish more people saw it. So go watch it if it comes out, I guess. Yeah, I think that's all I got for you guys this week. I have seen some more movies, though. Don't you worry. We've got quite a slate coming up. And I'm loving my Regal Unlimited pass, although it's already going up in price, which is kind of bullshit, terrible timing, but whatever. Hope to keep using that. Got some streaming stuff that was good, so next week we got a couple more movies no matter what. And probably another Bears loss to the 2-6, 2-7, whatever fucking loser Patriot team. And season's over. Everything's broken. Shane Waldron just completely incompetent. Matt Eberflus completely incompetent. Should have got Ben Johnson. Here's the thing: if we don't go the splat, get Mike Vrabel, then I'm on board. If it's Mike Vrabel, I'm super down. It should have been Jim Harbaugh this year, or Ben Johnson again. Vrabel or Ben Johnson this next offseason, or it's we're gonna need to riot Hallis Hall. Not literally, but maybe literally. Maybe get some torches going or something, because I just don't know how we can do this anymore. It's very deflating. Let's hope next draft is bountiful. And remember, getting out on a happy note, IRFAT, You are fat. Forgot what that one was for a second. We are fat. Calculator.